Guys, welcome again to the Cook and the Coach podcast.
I'm Kenny. I'm the cook.
I'm Baeza, I'm the coach.
Thank you for listening, y'all. We have been off for a little bit. Anyone following the news knows it's been a wild couple weeks.
Wild. Voice.
Such crazy stuff going on in Minnesota. So thanks for your patience. We just want to talk about it just briefly.
Yeah. Crazy couple of weeks. I mean, I think for a nation it was crazy, but I mean, if you live in the Twin Cities area, I mean, my God.
Oh, man.
Like, I think the last time, I'm not trying to compare anything, right? Like, I don't want to, like, compare, traumas or, like, experiences and stuff. But, like, the only things I could think about that could compare to, like, how traumatic these events were like, comparable to, like, Katrina, New Orleans, or, like, 9/11. Like the trauma that the city has felt over the past year.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
dude. Well, we've literally, like,
astronomical.
seen the parts of the city burn. We've seen people murdered. Like, seen, like, businesses get, like, destroyed.
Yeah.
Just so many different things. Like, the past couple weeks, we've had a wild number of, like, National Guard members and extra, I think, police as well from maybe Ohio and somewhere else. But yeah, just like, I live a few blocks away from the Minneapolis Convention Center. And yeah, I was telling Baze this. At one point, I think a couple weeks ago, I just saw this, basically just this, it looked like a presidential carriage of just so many National Guard trucks and just vehicles. And they've just been posted up all around Minneapolis. And I know Baze has seen them all over too. And it's just been wild. It really, really insane.
Are they still posted there, Ken?
I actually didn't drive by today. On, like, Nicollet Avenue, like 8th Street, I haven't really seen a lot. So, like, after the Chauvin verdict, it seems like a lot of the presence kind of dissipated. Which I guess to be expected, just, but I haven't seen, though. I have to check. Have you heard anything about that? About if they're still around here? No?
I think there's still like a very small handful, just patrolling, just make sure everything's good.
Yeah.
But I think most of them did go home, which
Sure.
was it's crazy. Actually, there was a headline in the Star Tribune. I didn't actually read the article, but there's a headline talking about how, like, the heavy presence of the National Guard has been actually kind of traumatic for a lot of East Africans, because that's the environment they come from, where they were in war zones where the norm for them was seeing the heavy military presence. And they escaped their countries to have a normal life. And when they're in their towns and their homes and they see military, lining up on the street corners, it kind of brings back flashbacks and memories of, war, whether it be Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, other countries, Yemen. It's kind of traumatic in a way. For those, for people like my parents and maybe a little bit older too. So, yeah,
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, because one of my best friends, he's in the Army. He's an officer. He was out there doing his thing. So part of me was like thinking about him and people I know that are policemen, military. I'm thinking, okay, like, a lot of these guys are good people, but at the same time, there's this, like, I never experienced the trauma of war in my home country like my parents have, but, like, there's almost like this generational thing that I felt that was like, the kind of like my body, like, remembered their past trauma.
Wow.
It's like this weird, like, feeling. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does, yeah.
But
Wow.
But yeah, man.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but, like, your house, the cars at your parents' house got egged over the past couple weeks too, and it was the only one in the city, in your neighborhood, that did. And that happened a few days after the Dante Wright shooting. Rest in peace.
It was like like either like the night after or like 2 nights after or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, like
I don't know.
my
Like that's fucked up. I don't know what that is, but that made me mad.
and as far as I know, we're the only black family within the few blocks.
Yeah.
So
So I don't know what that's about, but that sucks.
it definitely felt targeted because we talked to other people in the community. We were on a good community group chat, and they're like, "Yeah, like nothing happened to our places." So it might have been just some stupid kids who just picked a random house and threw eggs. It definitely could have been that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to wonder. And then the week before that, I got pulled over a couple of times by cops on my way home from work. And then the night before the Chauvin verdict came out, I was followed to my doorstep by Roseville cops.
I didn't know it was 3 different times.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, to say the very least, a very intense couple weeks for me.
The only time I've been pulled over in the past couple of years was maybe a month ago, and I was driving 80 something around during rush hour, so I deserved that.
Yeah. But yeah,
Damn,
two out of 3 times, nothing. I wasn't doing anything. There's nothing wrong. There's no taillights out. Nothing.
Sure.
Just
Did your parents talk at all about, because you were talking about like the generational trauma? Did they mention anything about just seeing all of the soldiers just in the neighborhoods, and did they talk about that at all?
No, they didn't really bring that up. I mean, they don't really talk about that stuff in general.
Sure.
My dad, like a couple times, has kind of like touched on it just briefly, but I mean, for them, I think it's something they just want to leave in the past and just don't even. There's no need to touch on it.
Right.
Their kids live in America. That America's all they've known. Why bring up that hurt?
Sure.
I think that's how they feel about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just in case anyone doesn't know, like a couple weeks ago, this 20-year-old kid, Dante Wright, got shot and killed by the police. And yeah, the city like mourned it, and there were protests, and just a lot went down after that. And it just, in every way, it was just such a tragedy. One of the reasons being like just the whole Chauvin trial happening. Like they were wrapping it up around that time. So it's like, man, like if this entire city didn't feel like it was about to burn down, like then that happened. Like it had never, like I was like, I don't know if you felt that way too, right, Baze? Just like how things were about to pop off.
Oh yeah. And yeah, like you said, like if the city could be tense enough, and then that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's still kind of like, there were a lot of protests, and people like doing donations and stuff like that. And then this week, obviously the news that, I mean, has been around the country, if not the globe, the Chauvin trial, the verdict was reached, and thank God it was the 3 guilty counts. Because that was the other thing. I was ready. Like I was watching it live. They had the live stream on the New York Times website, and oh my God, dude, I have not been so scared watching something like maybe ever. Like it was so fucking intense.
Absolutely.
I couldn't believe it, dude. How many times has it not been? So infrequently has that type of verdict happened, and I was so ready for that to happen again, and I was just so shocked that it. I don't know. I just feel like it was the best case. Totally, man. And like I was thinking, like, oh man, like that might be hard to like prove. Like I just really hope that they can like that they can actually get him charged. And I don't know. I was like, in my head, I was thinking like, man. Part of me is like, man, we'll be lucky if we get just the one manslaughter charge, let alone either of the murder charges. And I just couldn't believe that they got all 3. It was shocking.
I thought I was gonna get manslaughter, and then that would be it.
Yeah, that
was my thinking, and I was super nervous because, let's be honest, if it wasn't all 3, not the same story.
Even 2 out of 3, it wouldn't be the same story.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, like I've never. I'm trying to think of the last time like I was anticipating something like so intensely, like maybe like my sister's basketball game, or like when I was like in like a track event. That was like one of the bigger like moments of my personal life. But this was like one of the biggest moments for like the area we live in, and it was one of those rare moments. It's like probably one of the only moments where like the entire, like literally the entire world was looking on Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean this and then a year ago, obviously,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
besides that, like there aren't that many.
So there's this weight in the air.
Dude, and I mean, I totally, and going off that, like, just, I mean, I feel like kind of rightly so, like, just this heaviness, this guilt, this shame, this frustration, just this dark cloud. It feels like, at least and I don't think that's totally gone, but ever since last year, I feel like with George Floyd, rest in peace, like, it was just hanging over everyone's head, and it was like such a shitty thing for your city to be known for, and for everyone in the world to be talking about, and obviously that's not the biggest tragedy, but that was just part of like how everyone in this community was feeling, besides obviously mourning it.
I think the world is gonna look at Minneapolis in a positive way though, because of how we reacted. Obviously not the riots and everything,
For sure.
but I think as far as the peaceful protest, which was the majority of what happened,
For sure.
I think people are gonna see that in the future and reflect
Yeah.
on that more, and look at how we said, "Hey, we're not putting up with this."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, some big statements were made here in response to that, which,
Yeah.
I think people will remember that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, me and you went down, right after the verdict happened. You called me and you're like, I think we should go check out the courthouse, which
Yeah.
by the way, I'm 10 blocks away from the courthouse. So like,
Like
I
literally.
was telling you, I was like, I'm ready to evac. Like I'm ready to get out if I
Go
need to.
back.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah, man. And yeah, so the 3 guilty counts were charged, and yeah, we went down and we checked it out, and
Yeah, man.
it was wild.
Where were you watching your laptop, your phone when the verdict? Were you just in your room?
Well, dude, yeah. So I was in here in my room. I was eating. No, I was watching a comedy podcast and ironing some clothes, and then you called me and you're like, "Hey, dude, like, we might have to record on a different day." I'm like, "Wait, what?" And you're like, "You haven't heard?" And I was like, and then I was like,
"That's one funny." That actually helped me
Yeah.
a lot because that gave me a good laugh, and I needed that laugh at that moment. You're like, "Oh, Ken's just totally clueless."
well, I mean, look, I knew that like it was happening, but I didn't know that 10 hours, dude. It only took them 10 hours. I was expecting weeks.
That's a quick turnaround.
I mean, both of us were expecting
At least a
only
week.
manslaughter. We were bracing for the worst, and so I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, if they, because the jurors knew what would happen if all 3 counts weren't guilty. So I was like, okay,
1,000%.
and so like if they. In my head, I was like, okay, if they think that there's a chance that one of them's not guilty, they're going to stand there for so long. And so I was anticipating that just because I've seen how this stuff has gone, But then you call, I'm like, wait, what? What the fuck? And so I literally like have my iron in my hand and I'm ironing linens. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to turn off this comedy podcast. I'm going to pull up New York Times. I'm going to finish eating. I'm going to calmly iron these shirts. And then, depending on the verdict, I will make a to-go bag and get the fuck out. Like, I was ready. Yeah. But yeah, we ended up going down to the courthouse, and it was a pretty beautiful sight, man.
Wait, before we get to all that, I'm
Yeah.
curious. So you finish ironing, put the shit away, you have your laptop open. They announced, the judge reads it, guilty on all counts.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction? First thoughts, feelings?
I honestly, I yelled like, yes, so fucking loud. Like it was just involuntary, just fucking really, really loud yelling. It's probably the loudest thing that's happened in this room. And then I cried.
Really?
I cried. Yeah, I did for just a little bit of I feel like it was just kind of like a buildup of emotion. And then yeah, honestly, it sounds weird, but then I pulled up Twitter and Google, and I was Googling Chauvin verdict because I was like, I wanted to double check that what I actually saw was real, because I actually wasn't sure if I believed it afterwards, because I was like, wait, like I don't know like courtroom jargon, maybe I misunderstood, maybe like I don't know, I just wasn't sure. And obviously like it got confirmed because they go down juror by juror and they ask like, is this all correct and stuff. But
yeah.
But that's what I did, and then after that, like I got ready to go. What about you? Where did you find out? Where were you when it happened?
So I was at practice.
Wow,
I was coaching.
Wow.
So school gets out and I'm in the weight room. I'm finishing up my lift, and then my buddy who's in the Army, like officer or whatever, so he texts me, like it hasn't even broke the news yet. So he texts me personally. He's like, what are you doing? And like I know like he wouldn't text me if something wasn't up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't, like he's commanding 100 people downtown. Like he wouldn't text me personally if something wasn't up.
Mm-hmm.
So he texts me, he's like, what's up? Text him back, I give him a call, he didn't answer. And he just texts me back, verdict is coming soon.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right. So immediately anxiety is just like to 100. So
Dude, and you're with all the kids too. You're at practice.
So I'm about to practice, right? I got half hour between that moment and then practice. Wow. I'm like, oh, like it hasn't broke the news yet. I'm like, you know what? Like the other teachers, a principal in the school, they should know too, right? This is a big deal. Like they would probably want to know that it's happening right now. So I'm like, I go over to the office. I tell some of our teachers, the principal, I'm like some other words because I'm like freaking out, whatever. Like I missay some things. I'm just like freaking out, and like you could tell, like this kind of what pissed me off, but like they're like, oh, okay, as if it's just like, oh yeah, it's just like, you know, like an announcement from the governor or whatever, like something like important, but like, oh yeah, well we'll see when it comes up.
What could be more shocking news to hear?
Literally, it doesn't matter what is happening in your life. Literally, everything should be dropped for this moment. Especially if you're a resident of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, and I'm not being like crass or whatever. Like, there's a short list of things. There's a short list of things that would garner more reaction from a teacher than that. Like active shooter and a couple others. Like very few. Like did you pay attention to what happened last year? Yeah. Do you know the magnitude of this? Like, I just don't get that.
So then I go out. I tell a couple other people, and they seemed like more like like more like on alert, you know. So that kind of balanced things out. I was like, okay, like at least some people, good, you know, give a shit about this.
Yeah.
But then I get another text from my buddy, and like I just broke on the news, like, oh, they're gonna announce it, and he's like, hey, like they're moving it up, like it's gonna be announced like real soon, like almost now. I'm like, oh, okay, this is like happening. Like red alert. Yeah. So I go back in the office to tell him, and I'm not listen. None of the people I work with listen to podcasts, but I'm not gonna say who it is either way. But I tell this to somebody in the office, and she goes to me. She looks me like dead in the eye. She says, "What am I supposed to do with that information? What am I supposed to do with that information? The fuck you mean,
dude?
The fuck you mean?
Fucking wild, dude. For context,
you at your desk writing up emails. Fuck these emails,
dude. Okay, for people who aren't in Minnesota who don't know,
this is the fate of the city,
dude. People, there were schools. I was talking with my coworkers, and they were. One of them's a dad, and he was saying like, "Oh yeah, my kid's school, they're talking about doing remote learning this week. You know, while the verdict was happening, because they don't know what's going to go down depending on the result." Like that's how some schools are handling it. And you got to understand, like, look at just the magnitude of what happened in the city last year. Like, if you're not from the cities, like, look at that. Like, it makes no sense that you'd be like that. Like, also, you're a leader and you're responsible for a bunch of kids. Like, if I was a parent and I knew that whoever said that, I would be pissed off.
Rightfully so.
And I'm not trying. Yeah.
And then there's another one. She's walking out, and like one of the coaches on like for one of the other sports teams was like, you know what? Like I think today, like I'm just gonna cancel this game. I'm gonna cancel practice. Like everyone should just go home and be with their families. I'm like, she's like with it, you know. I mean, she's like, yeah. Like we should like like this is something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she's telling this to one of the teachers that's leaving to go home. She's like, oh yeah, like why'd you cancel softball? Like what's going on? What's happening?
Just didn't realize.
What's happening?
Yeah.
And then she told like all the verdicts amount. She's like, oh, but like, well, why would you cancel practice or it was a game? I'm like, huh?
Oh my god.
Huh?
It's so wild.
So I got off track.
Wow.
But so I'm at practice, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like coaching, but I'm also like have like my phone on me, like I'm like trying what to do for the sprints, but I'm also like looking at my
Yeah.
phone to see like
Yeah.
when okay they're walking to the courtroom right now. Like,
Yeah.
so one of my athletes, she feels lightheaded, like she's gonna pass out. So I'm like, okay. So I have to bring her inside, get her some water. I sit her down.
Yeah.
And my phone's about to die. I'm like, okay, I need to put my phone in and go to the weight room and like see this, cause like,
Yeah. You got.
at this point I'm like, okay, just you sit over there. I'll be back. You know.
Yeah.
So she's in the weight room. She's sitting down on the bench. I plug my phone in, and literally like as like my phone's like back on YouTube, like watching live stream, like literally they're like just that second they start announcing the verdict. That second.
Wow. Perfect timing.
And he read the counts, and kind of like you, I was like, wait, like what did he say though?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I was just like,
Yeah. Just
like-
the way the sentence was phrased, I couldn't tell if that was the decision. It just was weird. I couldn't.
Yeah,
I did
yeah.
not believe it.
and then I was like, and then like for the first time, which felt like days, I like exhaled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just like, I wasn't emotional. I wasn't like super like jumping up and down like screaming. I wasn't like, but I just got really quiet. I just exhaled. I was just like
Yeah.
just took a pause, just took a minute. And then, you know, other coaches, track coaches are like, you know, did you hear? I'm like, yeah. Everyone just was calm. Was like, they're like everyone's like, thank God. Like everyone,
Yeah.
it wasn't like a big joyous moment. It was just like Jesus Christ, like this,
Yeah.
this could have been bad.
Yeah. Honestly.
We avoided a crisis.
Totally.
And then I think I called you up like just, 10 minutes after that, and then we met it up. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's wild, man. And yeah, we went down to the courthouse, and like you were saying, the eyes of the world were at between the courthouse and George Floyd Square. And we just got to just kind of visit and see what it was like. And a lot of people were celebrating. There's a really
Yeah.
cool gathering that was at the courthouse that then turned into kind of a bit of like a march type situation through downtown. And
They had
Yeah.
that courtroom locked up.
oh wow, Oh, dude.
Nobody's getting in that place.
No, definitely not.
Nobody.
Like on the main balcony over the doors,
Oh,
like
they had
lots of guards.
We were saying this at the courthouse. They probably had snipers everywhere.
Oh, dude, and we were joking
100%.
like we were trying to guess where the snipers were because there's no way there aren't snipers, and we were like, obviously there's no way we could actually know where the snipers would be because they're professionals. But we were definitely around snipers.
1,000,000,000%.
And what was exciting too, honestly, was just like so many different people were there, and also just so many people with microphones and cameras. Just and you're not sure, like independent journalist, just casual photographer, like
Yeah,
because
you could
there
tell
would
who
be
was
like
who.
major, yeah, but there were also like major publications and like so you knew that they were around, but you just didn't know what was happening.
Right.
And yeah, dude, it felt so great, man. It was like, first off, with COVID, besides last year with like the protests and such, the most people I've been around in a year. Like, and
Yeah.
it was like you were saying, like
Yeah.
overstimulating. Like it was a lot.
It was a
Just so many emotions, so many people, cameras, cheering, music, and
All of
just
it.
so many. A ton of honking of horns and cars through the city.
Dude, we were on CNN for like 5 minutes, you and me.
Wait, hold on. What? 5 minutes?
Like a long time. We were on CNN.
Because I knew you mentioned that, but I didn't. I thought it was just
Both of
like
us.
a quick cutaway. I don't
No,
know,
no.
but I
No, like,
know,
we were
but
in the frame for like a long time.
really?
Yeah, but I got screenshots. Yeah.
Oh, you should send me the screenshot. You should.
And
Can you text it to me now?
Just to me though.
Well, that's fine. Fair
Yeah.
enough. No, but I want to see
Hold on, I
because.
got him. Hold on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, people were like, dude, you're on CNN. I'm like, what? And then I was like, yeah, you're literally on CNN like right now while I'm
That's
texting
wild.
you. It was so wild.
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
Yeah, that's.
Hold on.
I remember you telling me that, and I was like,
For the people so they can see at home.
hold on. Oh my God, yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And I'm just to your. I
You're
forget.
you're literally just to my right.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, that's crazy. I remember you telling me that. I was like, again, like which camera person? I was like trying to remember. Like, there's just so many people. I had no idea what was even happening. However,
Well, that's the thing, like, there's no way we could have seen because we were in a
No.
sea of people. There was.
That's very true.
It was crazy.
I think that was at George Floyd Square. So we were at the courthouse for a while, and then we went down to George Floyd Square.
Yeah,
to
we
pay
spent a
our
little more time
respects.
there instead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, by the
Which
time we got
was-
to the courthouse, people mostly left, but because we had a lot of people at George Floyd Square.
For sure. And I don't know about you, but it felt like really kind of healing in a way because last year we were there and it was just a different energy. It was like frankly,
Totally
just
different.
a lot scarier. Everything was on edge.
Did we tell that story on this podcast?
I don't know if we did.
We thought we were getting shot at.
Yeah.
Last
So
time
we
we were
were we were at the square paying our respects last year, and then there was like and just crashing, and so everyone's like machine gun, and literally me and Baez were in a stampede of people running away north.
Like literally
on
100
whatever
people
street that would be.
sprinting in
Dude.
the same direction as fast as possible.
So scary. We circled back around later and we were like looking for an active shooter, and it turned out that it was probably firecrackers and someone throwing a rock through a window and maybe stealing some shit out, like basically right in front of where George Floyd was killed. So that was super
Like
shitty.
20 feet away. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking really messed up. But yeah, it was insane. But this time when we were there, it was just so, I mean, probably similar amounts of people, but a lot more peaceful. There was
I
a
would say
band
there's more
playing
people.
music. Maybe more people,
I think
yeah.
There's more people. Yeah.
There was a band playing music in one pocket. There was someone on a PA system, and they were going through a variety of like small speeches and talks.
Grilling food.
Grilling food, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where we were on CNN. I think that was that moment because I think that's where we were just for longer,
Yeah.
if I had to guess. But
Yeah, man. It's been I'm glad we went. I'm really, really glad we
Me
went.
too.
I think that was the right move by both of us.
no, I'm glad you
I don't
asked
think-
because I wasn't going to. I'm glad you asked if we should do it because I thought that things either way were going to get a little bit rowdy, but you're like, no, I think it's going to be peaceful, and I think you were right, man. I didn't hear really anything going on.
There was
negatively
no. I didn't
after
hear
the
any
verdict.
incidents whatsoever. No shootings, robberies, assaults.
Because-
Nothing.
Because you raised a good point where you were like, there are definitely opportunists who came up to Minneapolis to start some shit in case the verdict went south. And since all three charges were guilty, it's like now we just have opportunists here and they can't hide under the cover of protests and shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
The
I
real
think they
there's
just,
the protest.
yeah,
We
there
got
were-
it.
Yeah, I mean, besides like the march, but that was peaceful in the
But it
daylight.
wasn't a
you know?
protest. It was like a celebration walk. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
you're right. Yeah, it wasn't even really that. Yeah, and it was. Yeah, they just had nowhere. They just had to go home with their tail between their legs, because they
Honestly.
couldn't hide. So
Yeah, I'm glad we went, man. I think that was.
Me
'cause
too.
I think 20 years from now, when we have kids, we tell them about it. I don't think it would have felt right to like say like, oh yeah, I just stayed home. Like I think it was important for us to be there at that moment in time. You know what I mean?
I know
to
what
be
you
there
mean
with the people
for
and
sure.
like, kind of like heal together. You know?
I feel that. I agree. I will say like everyone processes at different speeds. After George Floyd last year, I maybe took 2 or 3 days before I could kind of bring myself to help with cleanup, participate in some protests and stuff like that. Like I was just so angry and shocked and I couldn't really understand it. And I needed
Right.
people in my life to kind of encourage me to go do that because I would have waited longer.
Yeah.
And I mean, even just with the Dante Wright thing, it was too hard for me to understand. And it took me several days to really even start to think about just like, man, 20-year-old kid, he's like between two of my siblings' ages. Like, just the magnitude of it was so heartbreaking. And I wasn't there for any of those protests. And part of me felt bad, but I was also like, everyone processes at different speeds, and I just got to be like thankful that there were people who were able to process faster and get out and try to help, you know?
Yeah. I mean, with Dante Wright, that one to me is tricky on so many levels.
Yeah.
I actually know someone who knows Kim Potter personally.
Oh, wow.
So just hearing from her and her perspective on it, and then watching the footage and seeing what happened, because it's tragic. There's some anger, but it's also a very different situation from George Floyd. Like George
Yeah.
Floyd, it was very blatant and very cut and dry of what happened.
I heard someone say it was like the perfect angle for like the worst thing that could happen. Like the camera,
Yeah.
like if we saw it so vividly, it was so clear what happened. I know what you mean. It's like it's a little bit more complicated with this one, I think.
It's definitely more complicated, and I'm not sure what I think or feel about it. But it is at the end of the day tragic. No matter how you look at it, it's tragic. So
That's how I feel too. It's just like a kid died, and that's really, really sad. And it's just complicated, and I just I would like for people not to have that happen, you know. But I don't know.
yeah, I think we'll have to see with this case what happens, what unfolds.
Yeah.
But yeah, just sending prayer and thoughts and love and healing to the right family, because they had to bury their son today. And I mean, also, hey, pray for Kim Potter's family. People might flame me or get upset at me for this, but I think it was a genuine mistake, and I think either way, I think her family's feeling pretty distraught right now too. So just praying for healing on all counts on this one.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Ken? Because I mean, I think every single person that I know, every single person, the past 2 weeks has felt an exorbitant amount of anxiety and just stress. Like everyone's just stressed to the gills right now. Every single person in the Twin Cities.
I mean, I think over the past couple of days that's dissipated, but in general, like leading up to it, it was.
We're starting to come down a little bit, but still there.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know if I have any other thoughts about it. I think you're totally right, man. Like, I'm blessed to be in a situation where I can like do therapy and stuff, which I've been doing for several months now, and it was really helpful just to be able to talk about how confusing and frustrating and honestly scary everything was.
Right.
I mean, and this is another thing that's like tricky to say, but it's like, it seemed like a lot of people were like last year. It seemed like there was more animosity towards the National Guard for coming in, but this year I feel like I saw more people. Just when I was driving through the neighborhood, I felt like people were just making conversation with the National Guard members. On social media, it seemed like they were more open to it. And I mean, like a lot of small businesses, a lot of people who shouldn't have been hurt by, looting and stuff like that got hurt last year. And they didn't want that to happen again, which I get. But it was really scary seeing like rifles all over my neighborhood and seeing people in like full out military gear. And obviously, I had it pretty damn good, but I think everyone was kind of feeling that in their different ways, where it was just so much to think about. And even just one thing I've noticed that I do, and sorry, I'm almost, I've noticed one thing I do. Okay, cool. One thing I've noticed that I do sometimes when something is really hard for me to process is I dissociate. And dissociation can look different for different people, but for me, it's like, it kind of feels like if like my awareness and like my body is like this normally, just like all overlapped, like it starts to kind of, the lines start to get blurred and you start to kind of step back from yourself because you just kind of can't handle the feeling.
Sure.
And I felt that when I heard the Dante Wright stuff. It was like, it just didn't make sense, like that a kid like that could die in just these confusing, tragic circumstances, and I just couldn't really understand it. And I don't know, I just feel like I think you're right. I think a lot of people are kind of feeling a lot of that stuff, and they're starting to come down from it. But it's and the other thing too, which, and this might sound really fucked up. There was a part of all of this that was exciting, and that's kind of weird to say.
Ken,
but it's
I'm gonna
true.
tell you right now, I've never related to anything you said more ever.
Wow. Yeah, dude. It's fucked up to say,
I feel,
but it really is. It was exciting to see huge military vehicles and like just feel this incredible drama, but it was tragic that it was happening.
Is enticing.
Yeah. And it's fucked up to say.
It's fucked up, but it's true.
And I feel like people don't want to confront that. But it's exciting, it's scary, and it's just so hard to come to believe that this is something that really happened in real life. So I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it.
I think I said it about the pandemic. I never said it about the police presence or the riot stuff, because I was afraid of what people would think. But I feel the same exact way. While I'm terrified, I'm scared, I don't want it to happen, but in the same exact moment, I'm like, there's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
When I'm like, whew, like, okay, yeah. Here it is. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm here for it. It's fucked up. It's not, I'm not saying it's right at all. It is fucked up. But it's a feeling. You feel your feelings, and it's true. There's something exciting about it. There's something exciting about it.
We don't have a lot of opportunities in our life, and we're blessed to say this. We don't have a lot of opportunities where survival instinct has to kick in, and I think a tragedy like this is where survival instinct gets to start to kick in. Like the circumstances that led me to literally run evac routes and practice them to see if I could get out of my neighborhood safely. Like I don't like the circumstances that brought that about, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't kind of fun and a kind of a puzzle to figure out how I could survive. You know?
Ken, remember the story we just told about when we thought we were getting shot at George Floyd Square last year?
Yeah.
Ken, we circled back to where we thought we were getting shot at. We went back to where we thought the active shooter was.
Yeah, we did.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
But there's something about danger that attracts human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
There's a thrill, there's excitement to it. It's not healthy, it's not right, but like you're saying, we live fairly comfortable lives. We live, lives where there's relatively low danger. We don't really have to fight for survival that much every day.
Yeah.
So when we're in a situation that's extremely stressful, and we think our survival is being challenged.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting.
There's look, and like this is like silver lining, trying to make the best of it, and we
can make jokes of this.
Sure.
It's part of processing, and
yeah, for sure.
Yes, we can. It's okay to joke a little bit.
For sure, but, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope what you were saying, man. I just hope that people give themselves the space to, I guess, pay attention to their feelings, and if they're really hard things to feel, I hope that they're like brave enough to like look at them, because I think it could be really good. I feel like, similarly, I think that's going to be something with COVID, where it's probably going to take quite a while to start to actually feel comfortable again. So I feel like that could be really helpful. So
yeah, I think it's a time for people who haven't practiced therapy. If I know you've been saying good things about therapy lately, and
it's been really helpful.
I think if you haven't tried therapy, maybe it's a time that you look into that and see what it could do for you.
Yeah, and I will say too, I'm lucky that I can get it. It's a kind of a blessing. I'll even say, like, I've been incorporating yoga into my routines, like morning and evening. I do a little session, just short 15-minute session in the morning and at night. And that's a good time to kind of just reflect on thoughts too, and just stretch out, take care of yourself. So if your budget can't afford that, or your circumstances can't afford therapy, there's a shit ton of free YouTube videos on how to meditate or how to do yoga. So
hit the gym, eat clean. That'll help too.
That'll
help
for
too.
sure.
Get your
Absolutely.
sleep into. Do all that good stuff. Drink the water.
Totally. Yeah.
Really quick before we get out of here, I wanted to touch briefly on something you mentioned before about the small business owners, because a lot of those stores are boarded up the day of the trial of the verdict. They're still boarded up.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them are, and I think a part of it's just this fear that they're gonna lose everything again, because maybe there'll be a. Hey, listen, the sentencing. If the sentencing isn't maxed out, it might be as bad as an acquittal, but there might be some people who might get mad and throw some shit.
Yeah, I think you're right. There are a couple more moments that we have to get through. So yeah, I think it's the
The
sentencing.
trial of the 3 other officers too.
And the big one is the trial of the 3 other officers.
That'll be in August. Yeah.
Are they all being tried individually? How is that going to be?
I think it's at the same time.
Because that's interesting, right? Because it's like,
which is weird, but
yeah,
I don't know.
That's interesting. I guess they could be functioning as a unit, so maybe that's part of it.
Right.
But yeah, so there's definitely a few more, and I mean, dude, I get it that they would want to be taking precautions.
Imagine being a small business owner in Minneapolis. COVID hits in March.
Yeah.
Automatically you're fucked there.
Mm-hmm.
George Floyd, the riots, so you're double fucked, right?
Dude.
And then the verdict is about to come out. I mean, imagine the stress of a small business owner. If you've even survived this far.
Oh my God, dude.
And if you have survived this far, you're probably thinking this could be the end. Over a year of dealing with all this shit. And
yeah, I mean, dude, on top of that too, like, I feel like Minneapolis can have a lot more regulations and such, and I see businesses having to adjust to that. I feel like it's already harder to run a business in Minneapolis than it would be to do it in a suburb of Minneapolis.
Damn near impossible.
And like, they're already getting, dealing with more of that, and they're not reaping any of the benefits of what having it be in a city center would be like. So they're just getting reamed, and it sucks.
Well, you've talked about on the show before about, the struggles of being a small business, small restaurant right now. Yeah. And during COVID, and what if you can't even get a PPP loan? And then you have this verdict and shit, and you're worried about riots. I mean, my God.
Dude, oh my God, dude. Like, I would say that every business has suffered. Some of them, like the restaurant industry, I think any industry with really tight margins, I mean, they've just been clobbered, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. So I don't know. I that is wild. I did notice that. And it, back to just like that wild feeling, that everyone in the city was feeling, everyone in the state, honestly, and probably around the country. Like, I was in Target a few hours before the verdict happened, and, just you can get a sense of it. You can get a sense from the employees that are stocking stuff and moving, like the way they move.
It's in the air. It's in the air.
For sure.
Yeah.
I remember last summer, I remember seeing employees. I just thought that they were being so brave because like they had seen Targets just gotten straight up destroyed, and they were trying to get everyone in and out safely and quickly and have this reduced like hours and like literally board up their store and like get everyone out safely and shit. Like, that's got to be scary, like really scary, just to be like just a guy in a red shirt pushing carts, just trying to make sure no one steals shit, and then like this is happening. Like, man, I feel like there's got to be some really good stories from people, just store clerks and stuff like that from the past year.
Right.
So yeah, but
yeah, man.
I don't know, dude. Like you said, man, I feel lighter. I feel lighter after this.
Definitely lighter. I mean, obviously it doesn't solve the root issue, but I mean, it's, it definitely is a step. It's definitely a step. So
Agreed.
At this moment in time, I'll take anything to take just a little bit of stress away. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
man.
too.
All right, guys. thank you for listening. Thanks for if you've listened so far. We like to have fun on this show, shoot this shit, say wild shit. But I mean, when something like this happens, we gotta address it. We gotta talk about it, especially when it addresses our very own city.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Cooking the Coach on TikTok, Cooking the Coach Pod on Instagram. Me, Basic Inside Instagram. Katie Martin 2. IG.
Yeah, for sure. So I got a food page at Haymarket Catering, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and a music page at Kenny Martin Music, also TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. And yeah, I have some exciting stuff I'm working on for that. And yeah, we'll be back again. We had to just take a little bit of a break with all of the everything that was going on, but we'll be back with some more lighthearted, just shit talking stuff, just about food and fitness and just art and stuff. But like Baez said, like when something this serious happens, and especially when it's happening like in our hometown, like we definitely wanted to talk about it. We didn't feel like it'd be right if we didn't. So we appreciate y'all listening.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.
Peace.